Hello, my name is Fritz Wagner.
And I'm Kenyon Browning.
We're going to talk to you about welfare today. Now, put simply, welfare is any provision given to a person so that they may meet the basic needs to sustain life. Now, if only welfare were that simple, we wouldn't have to make a video about it. So we're going to get into welfare, and go ahead, Kenyon, tell them what we have coming.
And we have some special guests. Adam Smith and Karl Marx are coming into town to visit us.
We know you have a lot of questions, and we hope we have some answers for you. And here we go. It all started, welfare that is, in 1929, when the stock market crashed and sent the economy into a spiraling depression. Herbert Hoover was the president at the time. Back to welfare. Things got so bad during the late 1920s, early 1930s, that towns where homelessness had become common were nicknamed Hoovervilles, after the one-term unpopular president, Herbert Hoover. In 1932, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected to the office of president, and it was at that point when the current welfare system came into play. FDR, a Democrat with a more hands-on approach than his predecessor, Republican Herbert Hoover, decided that he would create a system, a new hope, a new deal for the people of the United States. This new deal included public works projects and what we would call welfare. Now, the New Deal probably didn't get us out of the Great Depression. World War II did. However, the foundation that was laid by the New Deal in the early 1930s remains the basis of what modern welfare is today. Now, I know what you're thinking. Fritz, isn't welfare just a way for lazy people to never work and still live and get money from the government? Well, it's a very good question, and we hope that by the end of this video, we'll be able to answer it for you. And now, Kenyon Browning will take it away with the different types of welfare.
Alright, Fritz. I'll break this down for you real quick. A cash transfer is the first type of welfare, and that's direct payments of money to the eligible people given by the federal or state government. Another type of welfare are food stamps. Food stamps is money given to needy families to pay for food. In Iowa, the participation rate of food stamps is number 34 in the nation, with 12.1% of people participating in food stamps. And the number one state is Mississippi, with 20.8%. Another type of welfare are in-kind transfers, which are any good or service given to a needy family that you would need to use cash to buy. These would include school supplies, clothing. Subsidies are similar to the in-kind transfers we just talked about, because you're still getting money to pay for public transportation, so if you need to ride the bus or the subway, whatever you need to do, or they also help pay for your utility bills like electricity and water in your apartments. You can also qualify for fee waivers, which would be exemption from utilities or healthcare or your lunch at school. Hello. Now we're going to take it over to Fritz. He has a special guest with him.
That's right, Kenyon. With us today we have Mr. Karl Marx. Now, Mr. Marx, you were born in 1818, making you more than 190 years old. But it looks like you're still doing well. And to this day, you are one of the more influential figures in all of economic and political debate when it comes to things such as welfare. So, I guess I'd ask you, what do you think of the current welfare system?
As I say, from each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs.
Well said, Mr. Marx. Now, while I and most of my colleagues, to put it simply, despise most of your politics and ideas, how would you have the welfare system work?
I would like to have government control every aspect of a human's life. But here in your silly country of the United States, poverty welfare is made to help give people a second chance to escape poverty and let them live long and prosper.
Thank you for stopping by, Mr. Marx. Your time is very valuable and we appreciate it. Next, we have what some might say your biggest adversary. Now we have Mr. Smith on Skype, all the way from his hometown in Scotland. Mr. Smith, what is your take on the current welfare system in the United States? Mr. Wagner, thanks for having me. I must say, you're one of the finest looking men I have ever seen. Back to welfare. You asked something like, what was it? How would I have welfare run? Well, as I said in my book, The Wealth of Nations, published in 1776, which is on Amazon, both paperback and hardcover, for only $12.99. Take a look. I say that government should only get involved when it absolutely needs to. In very rare circumstances, with the welfare system in the United States, would it absolutely need to get involved. Unless an individual cannot sustain life, cannot afford food, and is basically homeless, that is when I would think that welfare should play a part. Be Pamela Hedrick. Hedrick had 2 children. She lived in a neighborhood so bad that she was scared of gunfire during the night. After many years of welfare, she was able to get a job and escape poverty. She credits the welfare system with her ability to make a better life for herself.
Great story, Fritz. But while welfare works for some families, there are still some families that it doesn't work out for, and there are definitely some changes that need to be made. There was a story about a lady named Lisa. She had 2 kids. She was living in poverty and was in welfare for a while, but then she finally got enough to get a job. But then while she got the job, she ended up losing the welfare, and it wasn't the best for her. You know it's a problem when you have to decide between paying your babysitter or paying your rent. At her new job at the department store, Lisa worked from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., which isn't a lot of time to be with your family, and while her kids were growing up, it wasn't a good time. She had no extra money to buy anything for her children, like soap, clothing, or even presents.
Now that you know so much about welfare, you're probably asking yourself, how can one apply for a welfare program? Well, there are plenty of requirements, one of which is a maximum income. In order to receive welfare, one must earn no more than $1,000 monthly. This is quite common, actually. Today in the United States, there are 4.3 million Americans on the welfare system. Anyway, the government obviously handles welfare, but the federal government does not. Welfare is handled on a state-by-state basis. You contact the State Department of Human Resources and talk to a representative. Depending on your income and family situation, depending on your kids, or whether or not you're married, you know whether or not you qualify. Now, altogether, believe it or not, all of the state governments spend $130 billion annually on supporting families in need of financial assistance. Now, remember earlier in the video when I brought up the point that many people on welfare may be lazy individuals and welfare enables them to sit on their butts all day and collect a paycheck for no work that they did. Well, it's a valid point. And I'm sure there are many free riders, as they're nicknamed by the rest of society. But ask yourself this question. Is one welfare success story worth 100 free riders? Imagine a single mother with 5 children at home who need to be fed. Even Adam Smith, the libertarian-like economic and political philosopher, would agree that the government needs to step in so that the mother can take care of her children. Now, I'm not sure if that's a question I can answer. It's definitely an ethical and a moral question. So we'll leave that one up to the politicians. Either way, it's a question worth asking yourself, whether or not the current welfare system is adequate for the needs of families who are struggling to find their next meal. Thanks for watching.
And we hope you learned something.
To summarize, welfare is any government assistance. There are many types, whether it's a cash check or a fee waiver for school supplies. In order to get welfare, you must meet the minimum requirements. Remember, if you make more than $1,000 a month, you can't qualify.
And during these economic times, welfare is ever so important to help these needy families.
Once again, thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Have a good night.